Hello and welcome everyone. This is your astrology forecast for full moon in Cancer. And this full moon in Cancer is happening on the 13th of January. And it's a big introduction into this new year of 2025. It's a huge emotional leap that we are all about to experience in a very intense, emotional and reactive way. And it's all very much intensified and emotionally charged to the maximum because it's in the conjunction with retrograde Mars in Cancer. And Mars retrograded back into Cancer on the 6th of January. And Mars will be retrograde in Cancer until the 23rd of February. And Mars will continue being in Cancer until the 18th of April. And this is not a very good position for Mars. So it's like it's a double trouble for Mars, because Mars is in its fall, in its detriment when in Cancer. It doesn't really feel good there. It cannot really express itself fully. And especially when it's retrograde, it cannot express itself in the way that Mars would want to express itself. So this full moon is right next to this retrograde Mars in Cancer, which means it intensifies the energy of Mars, and Mars also intensifies the energy of the full moon. And this is all in the opposition with the Sun in Capricorn. So we have this axis of Cancer Capricorn that is very powerful, very complex, that this energy carries very powerful patterns from family, from childhood, from our roots, from our past, from our memories, from our subconscious memories, from past lifetimes, from different lifetimes. It's a very complex energy that, brings up emotional rage, emotional responses, and big emotional triggers. And there are many escalations happening on a personal level, and we cannot deny it, we cannot escape it. Full moons always bring things to light. Full moons bring things to a head. Full moons bring things to an end. Full moons are very powerful, intense energies that bring culminations, revelations, illuminations, endings, completions, disclosures, fulfillments. Also, some things can come to a fruition, but they will come through some very heavy emotional purging. This is purgatory time, and we are asked to work through at a deeper level of emotional body and emotional experiences. And this is Cancer energy. Cancer is ruled by the moon, so we have full moon in Cancer. Again, very emotionally intensified, especially together with Mars retrograde in Cancer. And this is how we personally feel. And it's about self-trust as well, very much about self-trust, about having safe environment, about having that safe space, about our inner security system. Do we have our own inner security system, or do we feel like we have to build that security system? And this is very much related to parents, to parental figures in our lives, to people we lived with, people we grew up with, people who were our caretakers, caregivers, our parents or parental figures, as I said. These are our first experiences of family tribe, and our first experience of the unit, our first ever connection and attachment. These are our mother and father, or people who were in the role of the mother and father. And it's very nurturing energy, and it's about how we trust our heart and what we are truly feeling. And we may feel restless because of all of this, because there is great emotional discharge, and it's emotionally charged. So we have to learn how to discharge and recharge ourselves emotionally, and how to trust ourselves, how to allow our emotions to give them space to be exposed, to be expressed, to pass through us, and to observe them consciously, without giving in to them, without giving them full power over us. This is a lot about internal energy, something very private, my private space. And we are working through something from the past. And even though it is over and done, here it comes again, especially because Mars is retrograde. So something we thought is over, something we thought we are done with, especially considering our family, our past, our emotional stability and security, our emotional processes, our, childhood memories, our any discomfort that we have about our past. It's coming again, and it's coming to be resolved. It's bubbling up, and we may feel triggered at home. We may feel triggered by a certain comment from a family member, or we may feel triggered by our close ones, those who feel like family, our best friends, partners, our very close unit. And this triggering could be related to mother figures, or you in the role of a parent, but especially mothers. This is the moon, the fourth house, Cancer. But regardless of the gender, of course, we are all going to be faced with those suppressed feminine expressions within ourselves. And Mars wants action. Mars is masculine energy, but when it's in Cancer, and especially retrograde, it has more of that yin and feminine energy. And Mars retrograde brings up what needs to be worked through, what needs to be experienced, and there is some kind of internal fight coming up, internal heat, and these inner battles may become very strong, and we may start projecting them outside of ourselves if we don't have capacity to handle them, to acknowledge them, to face them, to just confront them. And Mars retrograde in Cancer holds back, and this is energy that is not expressed. So we may feel a lot of suppressed anger and suppressed rage coming up in regards to our family, our emotions, our past, our childhood, and our different lifetimes, of course, because we carry these things with us. If we know if lesson is not learned, it's repeated. So we repeat cycles, and we repeat things in our relationships. And we may be faced with other people, and other people may not know what we really want, and we may not know what other people want, because emotions are not expressed. They are repressed and suppressed, and we are dealing with this retrograde Mars and with suppressed anger, with passive aggression, with suppressed rage. So we have to learn how to find alternative ways of expressing ourselves, and having the ability to express to other people what we want, how we feel, and allowing them, giving other people space to show us what they want and what they need without us guessing, because we don't know what's in other people's hearts and minds. And there's a lot of repression and resentment with this full moon in Cancer, and it can be very uncomfortable. And we may feel stuck, we may feel confused, we may not know how to move through this energy. We may feel like we are drowning, or like we are stuck in the mud. But this is very powerful, because there is some kind of push, internal push, that is really allowing us to reparent ourselves, to become an adult, and to look at those patterns that are being repeated, and to see what pattern is coming up, what pattern is coming up that is related to childhood. And we will have an opportunity to be understood now in ways we never thought we can be understood, either by ourselves or by somebody else. But of course, if somebody else gives us that understanding, we will immediately have that understanding within ourselves. And if we understand ourselves, we will also have that understanding from somebody else. And what we never imagined to be understood can be understood now, and there is great relief, of course. And there is something from the inside that wants to be understood, that wants to be acknowledged, that wants to be noticed and recognized, that wants to be taken care of. Maybe for the first time in our lives, it wants to feel safe. And this will be especially strong if we never felt like we can fully express ourselves. This now is really, truly a great opportunity to fully express ourselves, to be brutally honest with ourselves, and to, just allow ourselves to feel it all without trying to deny, to avoid, to neglect, to ignore, to reject, to deny. I said deny, let's not try to either justify or explain or do anything. Just, be and observe and allow it to express itself. And there's something that wants to be heard and wants to have a safe space in order to get it all out. And something is coming up here that we need to take care of, and it's really reminding us of the importance of self-care. And this is something that we haven't fully addressed, and we maybe thought that we have. Something we thought we have outgrown it, or we thought that is long behind us. Oh, it was in the past. I am done with that. I have dealt with that I've been dealing with that for a very long time. I maybe even been to a therapy because of that, and maybe did a regression or whatever. We think that this is something that is over, but no, it comes up, and we have to deal with it. We have to address it. We have to acknowledge it, and this can trigger some very immature behavior, and this is a childlike energy, and we are now asked to handle this thing in a mature way. And we will see where we are not being adults, where we are not being, mature, grown up, where we are missing that part. That's a huge part. And, Mars, as I said, is not comfortable in Cancer, and it struggles here. It's like, just circling the drain. But this full moon is asking us to go deeper into what we really and truly need, and to see what we really feel, what is going on within us. We have to understand ourselves. As I always say, we didn't come here in this body, in this experience, in this family, in this life, in order to be understood by others, but to be understood by ourselves. And this is our task. And it's not really anybody else's job to parent us, to take care of us, to take responsibility for our actions, to justify us, to babysit us. It's our job to grow up and to take responsibility for all of our being. And we are this full moon is asking us to come home, to come back to ourselves, coming back to the source of who I am, coming back home. I am coming back home, but not physical home. Okay, in some cases, of course, this energy can bring some people back home, into their place where they grew up. But what's mostly important is that we are coming back to our safe space within ourselves, to our sense of self, to where we truly feel like we belong, and this can be built only from within. Everything else that comes is just an additional bonus to that energy. It's not something that gives us the source of that, inner space of feeling where we belong. And this energy also can demand a more privacy, and this can go in some extreme behavior, like barriers going up, or we may be building some firewalls, or we may be like, don't talk to me, do not disturb. We may close ourselves, shut down, freeze, put on the mask, fake it, and pretend, and then on the inside we are burning. This is not constructive way to deal with this energy. Mars retrograde wants us to deal with it, to resolve it. It's coming up, especially this full moon. It's like pulling it up. Everything that has been hidden, that has been in the darkness, that has been that we probably don't want to look at. We have to look at it now. And we are working through something on a very deep level now. Something maybe that we didn't get in the childhood. Our unfulfilled desires from the childhood, or when we were younger, while we were growing up. Something we didn't get from our mother, something we didn't get from our family. There is a lot of unresolved anger. And we have to work with that unresolved anger, because if we just keep suppressing it, if we just keep pretending, if we just keep, putting up walls, this will get worse and worse and worse each next time when this energy comes up. And this can even manifest as illness later, and cancer, breasts, these are complex things. And our need for attention, when we have strong need for attention that we didn't get when we were growing up, then this need can really shut us down and detach us from our source and our true resource. And this creates sickness. If we are putting up with a lot and not expressing anything, if we are just stuffing it down, accumulating without being able to really work with it in a healthy way, without any shames or blames or arrogancy or victim mentality or any extreme behavior. And this is something that will show us, where we didn't get that attention that we wanted. And these are the triggers that will be now present. We may be triggered by someone or something, like we may feel like we are abandoned, or like we are not getting enough attention, or we are not getting something that we are expecting. But this is not about the current situation. This is something much older. Retrograde energy is the past. Cancer in the 4th house, the past. And we are about to see where we didn't get that attention. I mean, we don't have to see concretely situation, but we will see that this is something that is much older than we think. And this is a lot about emotional fulfillment, where we didn't get validated, where our needs weren't met and weren't heard. We love being heard, and we may be heard now for the first time. If we allow ourselves to feel, as I always say, you have to feel in order to heal. This is very important. And we are learning how to let go of that part of ourselves that needs that emotional validation and comfort from somebody else. And, there are many ways that are opening up for us now to work through this, to really mature this, to master this, to understand this, and to grow strong. This is about gaining emotional strength, emotional growth, emotional maturity, emotional health. And we all need this. There is a collective lack of emotional intelligence, because we are investing all the time in our intellectual abilities, but we rarely deal with our emotional intelligence. And we have been taught, just to walk through this world like we are always fine. And until we, we snap, we break, we experience emotional breakdown, because we never gave attention to our inner child, because we were expecting that attention from others and we never received it. So we shut down ourselves and close ourselves emotionally. And this creates big issues. And we are, many of us may be going through big, huge, deep understanding of who is the mother in our life, who is mother in your life, who is mother in my life. Not necessarily your physical mother, but also through that relationship we are about to reach something deeper and higher within ourselves, understanding like this is who my mother is, like her story, understanding her story, whether she was around or not, or whether she's now around or not. We may receive some deep insights, maybe even through our dreams or through our other family members, some new information or some kind of revelation of family secret that will give us new understanding. And, understanding that our family and our mother or father, they did the best that they could. And they did what was the best, And we are able to find some serenity in all of that, to find peace and understanding. But there's, as I said, there's a lot of resentment, and this energy can trigger and pull up some very passive-aggressive behavior. And we may feel attacked by others, or we may have a need to attack. We may be very emotionally reactive too. And it's very important to be aware of emotional regulation now. And if we get triggered, to know that we shouldn't react on that trigger immediately, but, let's be able to step back and to observe ourselves, our emotional reactions, our inner emotional reactions. And, we may need to process this, to be in our own space. Of course, it can be moody. Moon is going through many different cycles, through ebb and flows, and it's moody energy of Cancer and Moon. So we may feel moody or inconsistent, and everyone will experience this. So let's be aware of this, and let's be aware that not everyone will be aware of what they're going through, of what they're experiencing. So let's get prepared for other people's crazy emotional reactions too, and let's give others space, for that, and let's allow ourselves that space too. And something that has been shut down emotionally is coming up, and we are about to see more of who we truly are within ourselves. But we may be extremely defensive, or we may be faced with some extremely defensive individuals now. But this is all very constructive and purposeful if we know what is really going on. And this is really, the energy of feeling repressed. And, all this energy of Mars, our action-oriented energy, our assertiveness, our fighting principle, our masculine principles, our desires, our passion, the warrior within ourselves, all of this is being a little bit suppressed and repressed now, and it can be uncomfortable because we may have difficulty in expressing our true selves. But this is very powerful because we are reminded of different ways, alternative ways, different new ways of reacting, not always, the same pattern. So some patterns will really become very obvious, very evident, and our emotional expressions will become transparent. So we have to get ready for that too. And this is very deeply felt, and we may be picking up on other people's emotions too. So we have to learn to discern between what is ours and what is not belonging to us. And this is a journey within, a big internal journey, and it can be highly emotional, as I said. This is like a frustrated warrior, very impatient, and we may be dealing with impatient people, with impulsive people, with childish, immature behavior, with infantile needs and wants, with people who cannot handle this energy, with people who cannot handle emotional crises and challenges. And we may be the ones who are going through this. So let's not be afraid to ask for help. We are learning to ask for help. We are learning to open up emotionally. We are learning to find different ways of handling our emotions, our childhood, our memories. our privacy. And we are learning to detach a little bit from all of that and to see ourselves from the distance. Because where we are now, we are adults. Let's, bring that to life. Let's grow up. This is like truly a real call for us to grow up and to take responsibility for our emotional behaviors and reactions. And we may not be able to put words into this, but it doesn't matter. It's enough just to say, I'm going through something. That's it, that's enough. And you may experience for the first time a true feedback. This is like maybe something that demands courage, demands bravery, because Mars, we need that courage, but not that regular Martian courage that just goes outwards and expresses itself and does things no matter what. But internal courage, emotional courage, to be vulnerable, not to be afraid of being vulnerable, and understanding that vulnerability is not weakness. And weakness is not something bad either, but vulnerability is actually the sign of strength, of emotional strength. And if we are not able to be receptive, we are not able to give at all. So we need to learn how to be receptive, how to receive, if we want to truly share ourselves. And this energy won't be very logical or rational, because this is, water energy, and Mars is retrograde, so there's a lot of intuition, a lot of internal experiences, and we have to trust what is speaking to us intuitively and emotionally, and to see where do I feel safe, and where do I return to at the end of everything. What am I coming back to at the end of the day? And how am I shrinking myself, and how am I expanding myself and my heart? And it can be very soothing and comforting energy too. We are releasing things that we have absorbed that are toxic. And we may be highly sensitive to other people's needs. There's a lot of empathy involved in all of this. And we will be able to, just notice a lot of subtle things. But let's be careful, because we may color and filter those things through our own past experiences. So let's recognize our own projections and our own imprints. And we are about to see what we really need, that has been shut down, that has been denied, that has been completely misunderstood. And these are, Cancer and fourth house and the moon deals with our first impressions, our first memories. And, the question is, did we feel safe? What is our perception of family? What does family mean? Do we feel supported by our family? Did we feel supported while growing up? What did we miss? What is lacking there? And we are dealing with a lot of unconscious patterns here. And as we all know, a child needs safety. A child cannot exist on its own. A child needs someone to take care of them. So we are now dealing with those parts of us that need to be taken care of, with our inner child. And that inner child, as I always say, can turn into an inner beast, because it has been neglected, avoided, misunderstood, denied, abandoned by ourselves. So it's our task to take care of that inner child and to see how we truly experience family. What is happening within ourselves with our inner family? Is my inner family broken, or is my inner family in a harmonious relationship with each other? And Cancer really deals with those first emotional connections, and how we feel about our family? What are our first memories? Are our needs, have our needs been met and heard? And we are getting to the root of something, to the heart of something, especially when it comes to how emotions show up and how we express them, and how we learn to ask for help, or how we learn not to ask for help ever, because we assume that others won't be there, that they are not available, that they won't hear us, that we will also be misunderstood by them and rejected and resisted. And this is, we are touching the area within ourselves where we hold unconscious emotional imprints. And we are being asked, how are we there for others? Are we there for others in a healthy way, or are we there for others based on those fears of abandonment? And this is, we are about to see how we are repeating what we have learned as a child. And we are asked, were there those others, were adults really adults, or were they behaving also as immature children? And even if they were, it's not about blaming anyone or pointing fingers. It's about us finally taking all our power back and doing something very transformative within ourselves. And it's a lot about emotional validation. We are unconsciously learning to manage big emotions like anger, disappointment, fear, shame, humiliation, rage. There's sadness. We will be dealing with a lot of that now, and it's coming up, and we may not be able to rationally explain what is going on with us. And it's really important to know that this is normal, and we should just allow ourselves to go through that purging process, emotionally purging process. And let's not be afraid of, are we going to be misunderstood or pushed away or shut down? It's now time to not do that to ourselves or to others. And because we may have a tendency to do to others what has been done to us, perhaps, if we've been abandoned or pushed away or rejected, because trauma has a tendency to be repeated in many different shapes and forms. And this energy will also show us our emotional behavior and emotional reactions that we thought are completely normal. And we are about to see that they are not healthy, that they are not based on love, light, and truth, but they are based on some twisted perception of what love is, because love is not about giving attention. And we may see that we've all been living in confusion and delusion of truly confusing love with attachment and attention. And this is about truly expressing our emotions without harming others or us. And these are, core emotional imprints that are becoming acknowledged, that, haven't been acknowledged before. And there are many issues that are bubbling up related to our childhood, our younger selves, our emotional imprints, and things we held back, things, as I said, we thought we are done with. And there are many layers of this. These emotional patterns and emotional behaviors, these are layers after layers after layers. But this full moon is really showing us how to deal with those layers now. And this full moon, I forgot to say, is happening on the 23rd degree of Cancer. So anyone who has personal planets near the 23rd degree of Cancer or Capricorn or Aries and Libra will be feeling this very strongly, but we are all going to feel it very intensely and strongly. And what's important is that this full moon is also making a supportive trine with Neptune, and this is something on a deeper level that wakes up our intuition, our inner knowledge, our higher selves, and there is a great guidance from the invisible world, and we are asked to truly trust life. There is also a sextile, which is also a positive aspect, with Uranus in Taurus, and this brings us sudden resolutions, shocking surprises that are beneficial, and that just gives us, like, we may be feeling like we are drowning, and then in the last moment there is like a sudden resolution, sudden solution, sudden moment of bliss that gives us the hand and like pulls us up, and we can breathe. And we may feel like we are giving birth to ourselves, and this is really also something that's going on. And we may be going back to our childhood emotionally and mentally, and some of us may even reach those deeper states of going back even more. And we are dealing with our coping mechanisms, how we are about to see how we handle our feelings, how we handle other people's reactions. And we may see a lot of fear of showing up as weak or sensitive or being embarrassed because of our behavior or because of expressing our vulnerability. And we have to validate these feelings, become our own parent, truly, to give ourselves that what we have missed, to give ourselves attention that we wanted, to give ourselves love that we wanted, to give ourselves everything that we have been denied, that we didn't receive as a child. And we are understanding that we are the only one who can do that. Nobody else can do it for us. This is, my journey, my responsibility, and it's up to me. It's about my conscious decision and my conscious effort to make things better, to improve things, and not to get stuck in those patterns that put me in self-pity mode, or in a mode where I feel pity for others, or where I feel like a victim, or where I behave like a monster, or where I lash out onto others and blame. All these things will be heightened, and it won't be easy, and we may be dealing with those kinds of behaviors in our closest relationships, but it's all really there to show us the power of emotional maturity and of our ability to deal with those unfulfilled desires from the past. And immature Mars seeks to blame others, and we may be dealing with those people who are not able to handle their emotions, and we may be faced with some big anger, with big rage, and we may see that certain people are not able to regulate it. And we are on the big mission now that asks us to carry our inner child with dignity and integrity, and not to allow ourselves to lash out on others. That's not cool. That's not what this life is about. And we can easily make everyone else feel worse, and others can make us feel bad too. But this is, we can easily spread out anger, but what if we focus on spreading out something else, spreading out understanding, spreading out the feeling of being trusted, of letting people know that they can trust me. What can I do? I can spread the feeling of allowing people to trust me, or giving them safe space, or allowing them to be who they are, and allowing myself, of course, all of this first, But this is some of the ways how we can handle these things now instead of spreading anger, because it's really, really easy to spread anger. And as we know, fire really spreads very fast. And we need to find our inner center now, to find our inner anchor. And we may be dealing with some highly immature and irresponsible people now, or we may be faced with our own irresponsible ways of handling our emotions and feelings. And this is a lot about our inner reactions and how we respond. And we have to understand that we are responsible for managing these things. We are responsible for knowing and owning our own emotional patterns. And these coping mechanisms can be related to anyone from our family, of course, especially someone who installed that angry response within us. But that person is not responsible for our anger. So we have to detach from, blaming anyone for what we are feeling. It's very important to know this and own this. But people will be creating conflicts because we are addicted to this. We are addicted to blaming games. It's much easier. And especially when we, as I always say, we have company that helps us blame someone. And as we know, misery loves company, right? And now is the time to change this game. We are the game changers. We are advanced technology, the human being, and we have to learn how to use our full potential, because it's all within us. All the solutions and all the problems are within us. And we may be faced with some emotional wars, with rage, and deep trigger points are coming up, and we may be faced with our own inability to deal with those emotions, or with somebody else's inability. And we have to learn to manage ourselves, to see what is arising from within. And we may see on a collective level that there is a big demonstration of emotional immaturity. And amongst other things, Mars is related to heat and inflammation. And since this is full moon, and moon is related with the body, and Cancer is related to the body and the soft parts of the body, and this can also cause some health issues, of course, inflammations, rushes, blood flow, problems with breasts and with soft tissues in the body. But we will see, which parts of our body are not in balance, and how is that related to our emotional state of being. And this is very powerful time for allowing ourselves to cry. If we feel like crying, we should never suppress that feeling, because as I always say, crying is very healing alchemical process. We are turning our emotions into a liquid state, and it's salty, and we know that salt is very healing, and salt is one of the main alchemical elements. So crying is very powerful, and we can transmute our pains and fears thanks to crying. And we are asked not to react, not to push, not to force, but to be patient, to have patience with ourselves, to just learn to be, to see that there is nothing to do except to be in those feelings, to feel them, to feel the experience, to be the experience, and not to fight this energy. It's not about fighting it, and it's not about escaping it. It's not about running away. It's not about shutting down. It's not about, closing ourselves, closing our heart, because if we close our heart, we close ourselves completely. And what we can attract if we close our heart? We cannot attract anything beautiful. We can only attract more rage, more sadness, and this is like ongoing process that just grows and grows and grows. And spreads like virus. You know, fear and anger, they spread very, very quickly. And we are addressing those feelings, you know, that are not our own. And this is very important. And let's recognize when we become defensive or offensive. Let's recognize this, and let's try to step back and to work on spreading softness, understanding, patience, and mutual trust. And let's try to shift from being so defensive and emotionally reactive towards being more compassionate, more empathic, more careful towards ourselves and others. And even though this energy is intense and super emotionally charged, there is always wisdom in every astrological transit or aspect. There are always keys hidden behind those experiences. And we are asked to allow ourselves a break. Let's allow ourselves to take a break, also to connect with our inner selves. And let's allow others also to have their own fights. Let's not involve that much if we feel that they are lashing out, that they are dealing with big anger, that they are not able to validate their feelings. Let's allow others to have their own fights. And we may be witnesses of very immature behavior, very, very infantile and childish behavior. And we are asked to go higher, to see things from the higher perspective, and to turn towards our higher selves because of this trine with Neptune. And Mars and the full moon, they are both making this trine with Neptune, and this is amazing. And we are going through some deep understanding of what this all is about. And we may be faced with our own or somebody else's deep inner complexes, especially, if as a child we never felt loved by mother or by family members, or never felt connected with family, or felt like we don't belong to that family, or felt like aliens in the family, or even if we were put on a pedestal in the family, if we were given too much attention. These are all deep complexes and issues. These things create traumas and big expectations in both cases. And we may be faced with, a lot of feelings like, I was never taken care of in a proper way. I never felt safe within my family. I never felt appreciated, valued, accepted fully for who I am. So I had to build those walls, and I had to pretend, and I had to put my mask, and I had to shut myself emotionally. We may be dealing with these things. And, these are our primal needs that we are facing now. But, as we grow up, we can recognize these things. And these energies, like this full moon, is really showing us how to recognize that. And this energy also deals with our first attachments, and what are our first attachments? Of course, with our family, with people who we first see and have physical contact with. And this is, in most cases, the mother, of course. And these things can become more evident. Our attachments can become more evident. And we are able to gain really powerful emotional wisdom. Emotional wisdom is what we all need now collectively, because without emotional wisdom, we are lost. We are completely lost, and we cannot make any true heart connection with anyone. We can only expect things from others and always get stuck in those, games of expecting and giving and, giving and taking based on some measurements. But, true connection and heart connections are not about measuring anything. And this kind of energy is something that we need to step into consciously. And we may be dealing with people who are really fearful of intimacy, fearful of vulnerability, who are deeply and highly avoidant, who are more comfortable blaming others or withdrawing and just shutting down, or creating disagreements and conflicts, or just pretending that everything is okay when nothing is okay. So we have to know these things and to prepare ourselves for dealing with those kinds of individuals. But we also may be those people. So let's all try to give our best to change that and to be fully present with ourselves. And we are about to see, like, when we were first born, were we welcomed? We may not know this, but these are some things that we are carrying unconsciously. And were we wanted? Was this child honored and valued by family? And some of us will get these answers, but these answers are not the source of self-validation, because we have to do it for ourselves, because maybe these memories are not even valid, because our mind play tricks on us. And it's not really about remembering anything, it's about now dealing with what we feel and taking full responsibility for it, and feeling secure, creating our security system, our inner safe space, where we give ourselves that feeling of being wanted and being taken care of, and being able to treasure who we are, because this is how we attract others who will do the same for themselves and for us, of course, because if we do it for ourselves, then we can easily do it for others. We don't have problems to understand others and to be there for them if we are there for ourselves. But there's a lot of avoidance, there's a lot of anxious attachments, anxious attachments when we are attached to someone, and when we are not next to that person, we are anxious. We are about to see how we replicate our family relationships, our family dramas, our toxic emotional patterns into all our relationships with others. And it's about seeing, if we have experienced someone to be there and this person wasn't available or is not available now. This may be happening now, like we need someone and this person is not available. What do we do? How do we feel? Where this takes us? What this tells us about ourselves? And there's a lot to deal with. And we may also be able to see that many of us got used to feeling rejected and abandoned, and this is how we recreate that scenario in our life. And this is how we shut down. We don't show up, we don't open up for others or for ourselves, because we didn't have that from our mother maybe, or didn't have that from other family members, so we do the same. Or we do the other extreme of maybe being too independent and doing everything on our own. So as I said, we have to ask for help sometimes. We have to be able to receive. We have to be able to become our own parents, to deal with those abandonment issues and our primal needs, and to deal with our trust issues. We may be faced with a lot of trust issues because these complexes that we carry from the childhood create very deep problems that we have to acknowledge and work with. But like, I always had to rely on myself. I grew up premature, and I always had to rely only on myself, and I'm not gonna trust another, because whenever I put my trust in somebody, they betray me. But this is not what is truly happening, because as I said, we recreate that scenario because we repeat the pattern. And Mars here will help us cut through something, cut through emotional cords that are holding us back, that are holding us stuck in those patterns from the past. And we can easily cut through now things that we have outgrown and that are not serving us anymore. And we have to know that our mothers are our first soul contracts that we have. So it's very important, because if we have issues with mother, we have issue with everyone actually. So in order to resolve our relationships, we first have to resolve our relationship with mother within ourselves. We don't have to do it externally. We have to deal with it within ourselves, but of course it can happen externally as well. Even our relationship with father is conditioned by our relationship with mother. Even if mother wasn't there, there is inner complex of carrying relationship with mother. And we need mother in order to come into this life, to be a human being. So this is a very complex relationship that carries every other relationship within itself. And there's a lot of discomfort here to deal with. There's a lot of big emotions, but it's all for us. It's nothing that we should avoid or suppress or hide. It's something that we should really learn to handle as an adults, and to master this, to move through this, to flow with it, to be open to vulnerable insights and expressions, to allow ourselves to grow, and to be able to receive, to understand that being able to receive is very healthy. And to understand that we weren't able to receive what we needed because we weren't receptive. We were more rejective, and that's why we were rejected by others, probably. Or we were rejecting ourselves. And now it's time to embrace that inner child with all its imperfections and weaknesses. And we are breaking free from something, definitely. And this can break us open. And these are really brilliant insights because of this sextile to Uranus. And there's a lot of clarity that comes up. Even though this Mars is retrograde, there's a lot of emotional clarity. Not logical clarity, but emotional clarity. And it can feel very personal. This is a battle between the light and dark, but it's not so concrete. And we have to work on those deeper levels to be able to really listen to our intuitive voice. And these triggers are really guiding us towards some powerful breakthroughs. We have to trust that life is truly guiding us all the time in the right direction. And this demands a great work with our inner child, and with our attachments, and with wounds and issues related to mother and childhood. And we have to give ourselves what we were previously denied. And with this, I would end this forecast, and I would just add one quote from Carl Jung that says, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." And this is really a deep inner call for inner journey, and for being more soft, more gentle, more patient and understanding, and willing to gain emotional wisdom. I love you all, and see you in 2 weeks. Bye bye.